An all-new season of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives is now streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+.
Mom talk has just been blowing up.
Whitney and Jen are on Dancing with the Stars.
Taylor is a bachelorette.
Saying that out loud is crazy. Like, that is huge.
But all the cool opportunities could pull us apart.
It's causing issues in everyone's marriage.
My whole world is falling apart right now. It's chaos.
Watch the Hulu original series, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, now streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply.
Hi, I'm Taylor.
And I'm Kendra. We are the hosts of Camp Chaos, where we celebrate the wild ride of modern womanhood.
We are moms, but also so much more than that. Join us as we dish on motherhood, life's ups and downs, and all things pop culture that we know you want to talk about.
With special guests and expert insights, we're here to empower you through the chaos of everyday life. Consider this your ultimate escape from the hustle and bustle. And as always, parental guidance suggested.
Listen to Camp Chaos wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy, your besties with a literary podcast that deep dives into your favorite novels. This is Jack.
And I'm Amy. And today we're excited to interview Sasha E. Sloan, author of the debut novel, The Ruins Beneath Us.
Sasha created the popular TikTok series Noble House of Black and is known for humorous skits, sharp media commentary, and chirpy personality. She grew up in the Utah mountains and studied political science at BYU before moving to New York City, where she now resides. Welcome to the podcast, Sasha.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you. The day that we're recording this, is this pub day?
It is publishing day. I actually just got back from Barnes & Noble to go see my book in the store for the first time. Cried, like ugly Kim Kardashian type tears.
Yes.
Not like sweet, beautiful, tender influencer tears. Like it was cute.
Yeah.
And then right after this, I'll get into a car and head to Ridgewood, New Jersey for my first launch event. I'm so
Oh my God. Well, thank you so much for fitting us in. Like, that's incredible. As we were doing this and prepping, I'm like, wait a minute. Today's the 3rd. How is she making time? So very much appreciate you taking time and talking to us for everything, because The Ruins Beneath Us, man. We were telling you before we started recording it, Amy and I were at RomanticyCon this weekend and we were both reading it the whole time. And it was a lot of fun to just like, gotta go take a break and go to the hotel room to read a little bit more. Oh no. Sorry guys, I have a book to read. So it was absolute wonderful getaway and just reading and enjoying this book. And now we get to talk to you about it.
I'm so stoked. It's honestly still pretty surreal. It kind of feels a little like someone's reading my diary still.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you're going to have to get used to this feeling. People are going to read it. They're going to know.
It's a great diary. You have an interesting life. That is according to this. We want to talk about, I was about to just give the biggest spoiler, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut. So let's just go into getting more into this with Ruins Beneath Us. So it's a classic YA novel that feels like a classic YA novel because it really is that coming of age story that you don't always see anymore with YA. Sometimes we feel like they just like tack on the title YA and I'm like, excuse me, I'm relating too hard to this. But I love that coming to age concept of YA. And what is it about the themes of YA, of the whole genre, that you find to be compelling? And how did that serve as a compass for your storytelling?
That's a great question. I think with this story in particular, Lyria's background is that she grew up in isolation and she's very sheltered, very innocent, very naive. And throughout the book, she goes on an arc that's a very necessary growth arc because she's getting out into the world for the first time and learning things about her worldview that might be correct or incorrect for the first time. And I'm someone, I kind of joke with my friends, I've lived a lot of lives. I've had a lot of personal growth and change, in my own life. And so I do think that there was something really special in this first book, not necessarily telling my story, but I think in everything that we write, it's probably pulling from a real place. And a very real place that I could pull from is that transition from being naive and vulnerable and feeling kind of dumb and sheltered, and sort of the hardening and the growth and the coming out of that, I think, is very profound. And so I wanted to try to capture that in this first novel.
I think you did such a good job. And I'm not going to ask you personal questions, but for me on a personal level, having kind of gone through a similar experience of growing up in a conservative religion. And I also grew up abroad, being very naive to what it meant to be in America and not religious was such an eye-opener. And it was such a different world than what I knew. And I really identified with Lyria and her experience because it is daunting how much you don't know and how much you feel lied to when you enter this world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think it's very interesting how much we as people are shaped by our environment. I mean, that's definitely a theme in this book, both for Lyria and for the other main characters that are products of their various environments. And I think Lyria is such a fun case study because she has like such a unique background, almost like a very clean slate because she doesn't know anything. And walking her through those first experiences, well, I had so much fun with it. And I would say another theme that I dug into that I really loved about YA specifically that I think pertains to Lyria being a young adult and being a young woman coming into her power is that Lyria, from the very beginning of the book, really her whole life, she has a natural magical ability that is so powerful. It is both overwhelming to her, it's shameful, it's painful, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And for me as a young woman, from a very early age, I knew that I had a lot under the hood of the engine, if that makes sense. Like I knew that I was an extremely ambitious, powerful, spitfire little kid. And I grew up in a community where there were a lot of voices telling me that that was wrong and that I shouldn't be that way, that my role in life is to be more subservient and to be meek and humble and submissive, et cetera, et cetera. And so my favorite thing about writing Lyria's arc is that she goes on this journey from hating this thing that makes her powerful and different and resenting it to coming to a point of acceptance and realizing that not only is she supposed to have these gifts, but it's probably one of the most important, profound things about her and her life purpose.
Yeah. One of the aspects I love is just how much she like thought she knew the world. And like sometimes you can read a character and that is, I mean, maybe it's because like I'm older, it's not triggering. I just kind of look at it as like, baby girl, you don't know what's going on. But the entire time I kept playing Taylor Swift's song, like, how is it at 19 you think you know everything, but you know nothing at 22? And it just felt like that whole journey was within this one book of thinking, I mean, and she didn't even think she knew it all. She just felt confident. It's that confidence of youth of like, well, I can prove people wrong, and having to be humbled so hard about it, like with just life.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think there is such a confidence that comes from being young and not knowing what you don't know.
Yeah.
Like throughout the book, there's so many mistakes that Lyria is making that the readers and I as the writer, of course, you can tell that she's making those mistakes. But if you're 18 and you don't have the context for it, you're not going to navigate your friendships or relationships or anything professional in the same way.
Going back to this idea of what Lyria had under the hood, I felt like her journey was so well done. And the moment that she is in a situation where she recognizes she really values her power, that she doesn't want to lose it, despite everything she's thought her entire life, was really, really powerful. Because while I knew the development was happening, it was so moving for her to finally come to that moment. And I just really valued how that played out emotionally for her. So well done. I think you did a fantastic job, and I hope other people feel just as strongly as I do.
Man, I hope so too. That means a lot. I'm really glad that it landed for you.
Another thing that really landed was the love triangle aspect of this story.
Yeah.
You know, some people are very anti-love triangle. It's so hard to get a true love triangle that's truly well done. And I think you nailed it. I think you're going to have Team Finn, Team Cygnus on this journey because what you've done so well was how you really took the time to make us love and question both of them. And Lyria really questions both of them in the end. What was your experience taking on the trope of the love triangle and trying to make it fresh for your story?
Also, such a great question. Loving these questions. Personally, for me as a reader, I am someone that I always fall in love with and lock into the first love interest, or the main one, I would say. Like, I was an Edward Cullen girly, did not waver for a heartbeat of a second.
Were you Stefan?
I was actually Damon, the other one.
Everyone is like the real girls or Damon, but he was second love interest.
Yeah, so typically I lock into, I don't know, like, or in Mistborn, I wanted her to marry the prince. Like, I feel like I usually like the main one. Anyway, when I was sitting down to write this one, it's kind of funny. When I turned in my first draft, my editors were like, hey, like, we were just curious, like, between us, like, do you have a favorite? And I was like, oh, I wouldn't really say that I do, like, between the two. And they're like, really? Because we really thought that Cygnus was your favorite. And I was like, Cygnus? Like, like, what? Like, I did not like Cygnus for a really long time writing him. And I had a really hard time getting into his head. Like, I was honestly kind of irritated and dragging my feet on the fact that I even had to have him in the conversation in the first place. And I would say the moment at which Lyria started coming around to Cygnus and maybe thinking about it was about the same time that I was coming around to Cygnus and maybe thinking about it. And I will say that with this particular love triangle, because Lyria is such a cliche in the sense that she's almost the born sexy yesterday trope, where she's very, very, very innocent despite being a full-grown adult. Yeah. And so I do know that as readers, oftentimes I'll be reading something and I'll be so frustrated. You know, you're 17 years old, but you're leading the revolution and you're king of the world. And how are you doing all these things? And so Cygnus became my voice of whenever I was irritated at Lyria, I could voice it through him as a character. And sort of voice, you know, if the reader was reading it and going, Lyria, you're so dumb. You don't have a college education. You should not be a doctor. As the readers are thinking that, Cygnus is saying it out loud. So I did really enjoy getting to play with the foils of those two characters. I'll stop there. Sorry, I could ramble about the
no, you made such a good point where I was like, I personally think that it's like horrible when people like describe female characters as annoying, because I'm like, that's like a lot of internalized shit that you're working through. When I'm reading a younger character, because I'm in my 30s, it is like sometimes I'm like, oh my God, this is hard. Like, how are you the savior of the world? But the way that you're saying it, you're right. Like, Cygnus was the one saying, excuse me, you can go like clean the toilets, you know, like it's, you haven't earned this. And you also had her make mistakes. You also had her not know what she was doing. She's talented. She has a background, but you're right. Like, there's something about it. And I didn't even register how grounding that was as a reader to have all this where you're addressing the things that like has been played out so much in the past. And you're just kind of bringing that fresh out. I'm like, what is it that makes it so fresh? Well thought out moments like that.
Have you taken a sip? We'll be right back.
We are back from RomanticyCon, and every single part of my body is in pain except for my feet, thanks to my Gabby sneakers by Vionic.
There is something so special about wearing my Uptown sneakers that makes me feel cute while also making sure I don't suffer in the process.
You know, it just screams Taurus energy.
It really
you're
does.
Cute and you're comfortable.
Yeah.
My God, feed your astrology sign.
What makes them so comfortable is Vionic's exclusive ViaMotion technology. Vionic shoes began by revolutionizing medical orthotics, and today they continue to use that science to engineer shoes that leave you feeling energized and confident all day, even when you're at a convention and you're walking day after day.
I don't think I've walked that much in such a long time, and there was one day where I wore different shoes and I regretted it immediately.
They even offer a 30-day guarantee. You can wear them to your convention, love them, or return them for a full refund within 30 days.
I might just be buying another pair for the next convention. We do have BookCon in April, and you can have your Vionics when you use code BookTalk at checkout for 15% off your entire order at vionicshoes.com when you log into your account. It's a one-time use only.
Vionic shoes, wearable well-being for your feet.
I saw this quote once from Holly Black. That's the author of The Cruel Prince, right? She said that Jude and Carden work as a couple because they represent each other's worst insecurities. And I would say that that is true of this trio, kind of across the board, triangularly. Yeah. Whatever Cygnus is insecure about, either Lyria has it or Finn has it.
Yeah.
And whatever Lyria is insecure about, you know, same thing. And so I think that also, that advice from Holly Black, goddess of writing.
Truly. She's going to be at BookCon.
I don't want to think about that. I think I would. Fine.
No, I love it. That is the correct reaction to Holly Black. So, like, I'll say that for sure. But yeah, everything about them was, and the whole love triangle, I didn't walk away feeling swayed with one or the other. I was like, you know what? You can win me over. I'm open to either. Let's make this, is this a trilogy? I'm like, let's make this a trilogy. Let's have a book for each man. So I'm like, I'm flexible. It was even to the bitter end. You had me, I'm like, I can go either way with these guys. Like, I'm happy with this. I'm content with this love triangle.
I'm so glad. That makes me so happy that it landed like that.
Yeah, I think it's easy maybe for newer readers or younger readers. It might be easy to dislike Cygnus for his harshness with Lyria and view it as cruelty. And I found myself also kind of being like, come on, Cygnus, you're doing the brat thing. You're being a brat yourself. And then when he tested her, my adult self came into the picture and was like, yeah, that was really satisfying. So, and I just think that speaks to how well thought out he is and how, what you were saying, he is her foil, not for the sake of being a foil, but because he grounds the whole story and helps view things and view Lyria from a realistic perspective.
Another thing I should mention that informed the way that I approached the two boys is that in chapter 1, when Lyria's talking about her father, she says, like, I have this fantasy that he's going to show up and take me away. Mm-hmm. And that is exactly what Finn does for Lyria. Like, Finn is representative of Lyria's daddy issues. Mm-hmm. And Cygnus is the exact opposite. He fills Lyria's mommy issues.
Yep. Oh my God.
He's a healer. He's this critical voice. So he's present for her, but she's had this like present caregiver that's been very critical, and she doesn't want that. She wants the fantasy of the father that she never had that's going to take her away. And so Lyria's anger with her mom and her own journey is very closely tied to her anger and journey with Cygnus, because for her to realize the good things about Cygnus, she also has to have those same realizations about her own mother.
Yep. Sasha, that's incredible. That's really, people don't realize how thought out authors are. And this is where I thrive, being able to interview someone where I'm like, you're right. Like, that is so spot on. And that's so genius. Good job. That was I love how thought out. And it is like, when it hits. And that one hit. That one was a good one. Good job. Yeah. So another aspect to all this, like you're saying, both of these guys are her parent issues. And the concept of parents was such a great theme that you have within the book, mainly because it's a theme that you see a lot. It transcends genres, right? Like, we never stop having mommy or daddy issues, unfortunately. Like, that just, maybe you kind of get some therapy and it helps like take the edge off, but it transcends time. But for YA, it is so important because these characters are still growing, are still developing, and you have a variety of characters with different types of parents, right? Like, some that are present, some that are not, some that I'm not going to say anything about because, Anyway, but to what extent was this a theme that you felt was important for your YA readership specifically to really understand that the idea of our parents' legacies and how their choices around information sharing and what they choose to give us impacts us? Because as kids, we only know what we know because our parents tell us. It's not people's faults to not know something. My family is from Chile. English was not their first language. And I don't know how to say words because they taught me. And that's on them. So that's such a, it's more than just the fault of our parents. It's the knowledge that they chose to give us.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't know what you don't know. For me personally, I'm 28 now. I look back at my 18-year-old self, and there are things that I thought I knew for absolute certain. I would have staked my life on them. That looking back, I'm like, no, that doesn't resonate with me at all. I don't think that's true at all anymore. Yeah. And I do think, as you said, that the information that we get or don't get really does determine so much about us. And I had a lot of fun with this book, trying to make all of the characters be various shades of gray, because I truly don't believe, no one's perfectly good or perfectly bad. And I think all of the characters are shaped by their various environments. And in particular, in this world, they are 300 years out from a very devastating, violent conflict that ripped apart their realm. And there is not consensus about the history of why that war was fought, who started the war, the results of the war, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And those discrepancies have massive implications both on personal and broader levels for the plot. And another interesting thing that came out during the revision process, actually, when we were zooming in on Cygnus's character specifically, because Cygnus grows up in the same environment as Finn. Side by side, very different because Finn is the prince, Finn is the prince, Cygnus obviously is not, but they get the same lesson, same education up until the point that Cygnus goes abroad and studies in a different country where he gets exposed to more elves and his worldview broadens. And my editors actually advised me to lean into that theme of being able to be educated out of your ignorance. And how that knowledge, even though it didn't come from Cygnus's parents, or it came from an adopted father figure in Ragglestaff, having that knowledge is what able to set him on a completely different path. Whereas you could look at Finn and you can see exactly where their lives diverged and why. And so I did really enjoy exploring that theme, fleshing out his character.
That's one of my favorite things about growing up is leaving your bubble and being able to learn. And I also think one of my favorite things about it, or hard things, it just depends on the person and how they take it, right? It speaks volumes on an individual and what do they do with the information when they learn and they grow and they get new information and they realize maybe the reality that they were taught and grew up in is not the reality for others, is not in general reality. So, and I also believe your characters represent getting that information a little bit differently. They all handle it differently. And they all, when they learn something and they're trying to process it, what is their reaction? And that speaks volumes. And I try to give wiggle room and grace to, the youths in life or just not, you don't have to be youth. You can be at any age discovering something. And our initial reactions, give a little grace, but at the end of the day, everyone learn and be a better person. That's
absolutely. There's a moment towards the end of the book, I'm sure you guys know which moment I'm talking about, where Lyria receives some new information that she does not want to hear, and her reaction is to reject it and to say, I don't want to hear this, I don't want to know it, and I don't want to be here. And to be honest, that's something that I've seen many reviews or pieces of feedback that people that frustrated them. And it is so frustrating, but that is so true to my personal experience. The number of times I've had someone say hey, bestie, you really should break up with that boyfriend, or you really shouldn't be doing this. And I just don't want to receive the information and I just reject it. And so I do think that's a very young adult teenage thing that happens. It has to happen. It's part of the process, but it does suck sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially with Lyria's upbringing and her resentment towards her talent, the fact that she wants to double down and reject the truth that she learns is not unlike her. It is very indicative of her experience. And I think it's very indicative of many people's experience in life, whether they are aware of it or not. I heard information I don't like that doesn't align with my worldview. I reject it. It is not truth. Whereas you can see other people who are I learned hard information, I had to process it, and now I'm trying to be better, do better, which I think in some ways Cygnus represents, and she admires it, but is not able to do it herself.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair.
Well, speaking of Lyria, one of her main drives, and this again speaks to parental issues, and I think we can all identify with this on some level. Lyria really wants to prove her mother wrong. She really wants to prove, I'm an adult, I can do hard things, stop coddling or sheltering me. And what was great about this is it mirrored Finn's desire to impress his father, who's the king of Verdane. What other aspects of these two and their personalities or their experiences really brought them together to make Finn so desirable for Lyria, other than the fact that he's whisked her away like she dreams her father would?
time for a bargain with our sponsors.
I'm preparing to get married, which means I'm thinking a lot about what it means to merge finances. And I think I'm going with Chime.
Chime isn't just another banking app. They unlock smarter banking for everyday people with products like MyPay, giving you access to up to $500 of your paycheck anytime and getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. Some of these old banks still don't do this.
We're at Romantasy BookCon, and I don't get paid for another 2 days. I could really use Chime right now.
I don't get paid for another 2 days too. I'm really sad it's not stopping me from buying everything, but it is also making me want to switch to Chime.
Because they don't have overdraft fees, minimum balance fees, or monthly fees.
You can also earn up to 3% APY on savings. That's 7 times higher than a traditional bank.
It's also rated 5 stars by USA Today for customer service because they have real humans 24/7.
And with the Chime card, it's the new way to build credit history with your own money and get rewarded every single day.
There's no annual fees, no interest, and no strings attached. Who can resist that?
Chime is not just smarter banking, it's the most rewarding way to bank. Join the millions who are already banking fee-free today.
It just takes a few minutes to sign up. Head to chime.com/booktalk. That's chime.com/booktalk. BOOKTALK.
Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services, a secured Chime Visa credit card, and MyPay line of credit provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. MyPay eligibility requirements apply, and credit limit ranges $20 to $500. Optional services and products may have fees or charges. See chime.com/fees info. Advertised annual percentage yield with Chime Plus status only. Otherwise, 1.00% APY applies. No min balance required. Chime card on-time payment history may have a positive impact on your credit score. Results may vary. See chime.com for details and applicable terms.
I decided to start taking a GLP-1 because it was the final missing piece to my comprehensive wellness journey. Last year, my health was going to be my main priority. And for me, my wellness goals include energy, consistency, and long-term health. And Brello was able to bring a provider guidance that has made this process feel very supportive and legit.
What's so great about Brello is the focus is your long-term health. Your provider is committed to a sustainable approach to your wellness. Brello focuses on habits, education, and provides that structure for you to ensure that longevity along with provider oversight.
I've used other services before, and Brello is the only one that has their provider call me and actually talk to a real human being who is able to answer my questions. But beyond that, you also get access to an amazing private online community for support and accountability. Brello also has an easy-to-use app to track progress. It manages reminders and stays on top of renewals. Everything's managed online, making it easier to stay consistent over time, and the medications are delivered to your door.
Brello has clear upfront pricing with one flat monthly cost. If you're approved for a GLP-1 plan, they start as low as $133 per month with a 3-month commitment.
Go to BrelloHealth.com to see if you qualify and explore their GLP-1 plans, starting at $133 per month for your first 3 months, plus access to their app, community, and wellness classes. That's BRELLO health.com.
All patients must meet with a healthcare provider prior to any medication being prescribed or dispensed. Any medications ultimately dispensed to a patient will be done pursuant to a valid prescription from a healthcare provider. Compounded drug products are not FDA approved. FDA does not evaluate compounded products for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Compounded medications are not reviewed or verified by the FDA for safety, effectiveness, or quality and are not FDA approved. Not available in all 50 states.
Well, I do think a good chunk of the romance rests on the question of if you were 18 years old and you had never met a boy in your entire life and a really handsome boy showed up, would you like him? Yeah. I personally think you would. Kind of regardless of who it is. So for one, there's that, and I do think that informs a lot of it. But in terms of their actual personality nitty-gritty, I think something that draws Finn to Lyria, I can speak to that maybe first or easier, is complete authenticity, because Lyria doesn't have really any kind of a context of how to conduct herself socially, what things are appropriate to say or not say, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's probably the first time that Finn has ever encountered that degree of authenticity. And also the fact that Lyria, not only when she first meets him, but later, she never knows to treat him like a prince. You know, that concept to defer to him as royalty, she never really clocks that. In terms of what makes Finn's personality likable to Lyria, I think Finn is very naturally charismatic and very smooth and free-flowing and relaxed and happy and casual and joyful. I don't know if you guys noticed that his motif throughout the book is the sun. You know, It's just like sunshine, warmth, good vibes. And I think Lyria, her mom is this, very grumpy, serious person. Like Lyria hadn't been hugged since she was a small child.
Yeah.
As a result, of course, Lyria is also more introverted, more thoughtful, careful. And I think Finn is this relaxed, young person that's embodying this like joyful youth that Lyria would like to have and didn't think that she would ever have access to. So when she's with Finn, she feels like she's just more of a normal girl that can go have fun. And he's in exactly the same boat. He feels normal when he's with Lyria, and they're able to find escapism in each other that they don't get elsewhere.
It's very sweet. It's so pure with it. Like every single time they were together, I was reminded of their relationship and why they work, because every time he wasn't in the picture, he was doing his own thing. We're in Lyria's mind. Like, I'm questioning it, where it's like, he's not texting her. Obviously, there's no text, but it's like, there's no communication. Where's the letter? Where's something? And we feel as insecure and as doubtful as Lyria. And then I'm like, was this all like bringing me back to my 20s and maybe even today? Who knows? And then all of a sudden he's in the picture and everything's kind of okay again. And everything works. And even though she's mad, and she never just like straight up goes, okay, like you're a hot prince, I forgive you. Like he still has to like earn it. But even their conversations felt, I just really appreciate when characters feel their age. And even their conversations felt so authentic to their own age and their own dynamic. Like voices were raised. They were angry. They were fine. Well, if you don't want X, Y, and Z, then like, but then also, do you want me to be here? Do you not want me to be here? Like there was a lot of insecurity on both parts. There was a lot of doubts. There was a lot of passion. And every time I was like, okay, I was like ready to hate Finn. I was ready to be like, who is this brooding Cygnus character? That is who kind of treats her a little bit like shit. Sign me up. That's my dude. And every single time I was like, goodbye, Finn. Like I'm prepared to abandon you. And you brought me back every time. And I think it's the dynamic between the two where I can't sit here and tell you that they don't work. You know what I mean? Like I can't be like, their dynamic does work. Like their dynamic makes sense. Like they are drawn to each other for honest reasons, daddy and mommy issue reasons, but like for reasons nonetheless.
They also have very complementary intelligences. Because Lyria is super, super book smart, the least street smart person you'll ever meet in your life. Finn is the opposite. Like Finn is canonically dyslexic, like struggled a lot more with book stuff, but has all of this worldly knowledge. So they can have really great conversations because they sort of fill each other's gaps, if that makes sense.
He just like also keeps asking for consent at every step of the way. And I was like, consent king. Yes. Like that's like, I feel like at the core and who Lyria is as a person and knowing how naive and innocent she was, you can tell he never took advantage of that in their relationship. There was never a moment of manipulation or judgment. It was almost like he found someone, like you said, that authenticity. And that's because that authenticity came because there's no one's done her dirty, like she doesn't have that bitterness to it. And I like that when it comes to that element, that wasn't manipulated.
That was definitely something that was really important to me, especially when I was drafting the more really romantic, more intimate scenes, considering that they're teenagers, they're young adults. In my mind, you're still a child in many ways. But I did feel that having Lyria explore a little bit more of an intimate romantic connection in this book was really important for her own personal development. Yep. And so I tried to really frame those scenes from a lot more the place of what does Lyria need? What does she want? How is she feeling? How is this going to change her perception of herself in relation to the world? So I'm glad that those scenes landed for you.
It did. So clearly I have favorites and it's Cygnus. What's funny is like I immediately put a description in my head of what they look like regardless of what you typed. I'm just like, no, he looks like this specific X, but just very like, I'm like, wait, now I'm like, was he, I'm just like imagining like the emo side hair, even though none of my exes looked like that, but like it was the essence of, So let's talk about Cygnus, who is such a great counter to Finn. I mean, everything you're saying, like Finn's the sun, Cygnus to me is like very much nighttime moon broody. At the same time, though, he's not broody without reasons, right? Like it's all legitimate. Like he has his actual reasons to be broody, I don't know if it's broody. I think what he has is a reality of the world. Like it's not so much of broody as it is a keeper of knowledge of the truth of what's going on in the outside world, the keeper of knowledge of everyone in this castle here is living in a false reality when all these other things are happening. What would you say was the most grounding part of his character while writing the story? Because there are so many different elements to him that, like, you know, not that his brain is going everywhere, but he has a lot of things on his plate, and yet he is the plate. God, that was a horrible metaphor. Don't use that for your writing. Don't ever use that.
No, that's great. I love that. This is the plate. Well, to give a little bit of background, I will say I've written almost an entire book of Cygnus's point of view of the events of the first book, trying to get inside of his head. And one of my biggest takeaways was like, this guy hates Lyria so much. And like, for why? Like, the degree of his hatred towards Lyria is so outsized. But what I would say the thing that grounded me the most with him to Lyria, Cygnus is on a pedestal in some ways to her because he's so admired by everyone at the hospital. He's so respected. People call him a prodigy. He has a lot of power and influence around the castle. And he comes across, as you've said, like very harsh, sometimes very grumpy. But to me, Cygnus's main thing is that he's so hurt. And I actually think his friendship breakup with Finn when they were younger hurts him so bad to this day. And same thing for Finn. And I would say that is a really, really deep wound in both of them. From the time that Cygnus meets Lyria, that's completely affecting his perception of Lyria, is that he has this huge history with Finn. And so he's projecting what he knows about Finn. He's projecting former arguments, former conflicts onto Lyria. But that pain and that sadness and that loneliness has also contributed to like the reason that Cygnus doesn't have any close friends or a girlfriend. We know that, you know, we're inside of Lyria's head, but you observe Cygnus very closely. He doesn't really have anyone that's that close to him. And that isolation comes from that wound.
It makes sense. In a lot of ways, they lost a brother, right? Because Finn has to compete his whole life for the throne with his true biological brothers. And Cygnus had essentially no family. So for them to have been brought up together where they're not threatened by each other creates a bond that Finn doesn't have anywhere else, and neither does Cygnus. And so for that to have broken, it is like a life wound that can't be healed unless they come back together. And it makes me so sad. Finn, I have love for him. I have hate for him. Cygnus, I just have a lot of pain for him. So I do understand Cygnus from that perspective, and it does make me sad. And I think it also explains why, when there is a fight between the two, why they both take so long to quote unquote recover, one physically, one emotionally. So yeah, I think you did a great job with them.
Friendship breakups. I mean, that's because they're both half brothers in reality.
That's speculation.
I was just trying to get her reaction to see what she does.
I'm like, what? That would be crazy. That would be wild. You don't know. You don't know who Cygnus' parents are.
I'm like just being like, just throwing in my theories just to see what lands, just to be like.
I mean, technically, him and Lyria could be related. Just throwing that out there.
I thought about it.
I thought about that. I did think about that.
And I'm also like not mad at it. Have you ever read, what is it, Amy? Carissa?
I know exactly what you're talking about. The Draco,
Cassandra,
and Jamie and Harry fanfiction. Clockwork.
City of Bones.
City of
Bones, Cassandra Clare.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not mad. Like, I'm like, if this goes if this goes in that direction and we find out that everyone thinks they're siblings, or, you know what? Kissing cousins is fine. Like, I was
the little George R. Martin in there. I was rooting for Jon and Daenerys till the very end.
I was like, I can be persuaded. Give me a little City of Bones action in here, like trick me, fool me. Get me on, make me suddenly question talk about City of Bones. It made an entire generation of children be like, I guess that's okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to have done that to, like, I have never met a single person who's read it that didn't have that moment of like, yeah, all right.
Like, can I get on board? It's like the kombucha meme where she's like,
Yeah.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to say I'm rooting for it, but I'm just saying that, like, City of Bones warped my brain in a way that, like, and then Game of Thrones, I was like, oh, Cersei and her brother, whatever. Like, anything else is mild after that.
So true.
Like any good High Lord, we have responsibilities. A quick break. We are going to so many book conventions the next couple months, and do I need a whole new wardrobe?
I think so, because I'm not prepared for weather in New York.
Honestly, I am not about the fast fashion. I am all about Quince and how they prefer quality over quantity.
Quince makes high-quality wardrobe staples using premium fabrics, like 100% silk and organic cotton.
They even have a lightweight cotton cashmere sweater that's perfect for the changing seasons, especially in New York. And they have amazing spring colors, so I'll be able to be very versatile with all of the cute sweaters they have.
Quince clothing is consistently rated 4.5 to 5 stars by thousands of customers. Real people wearing these pieces every day actually love them. And honestly, they're better than some of my favorite expensive brands.
I personally love my boyfriend sweater that I got last year, and I still wear it all the time. And I'm sad that it's going to be warm, so I guess I'm going to have to find another sweater.
Stop waiting to build the wardrobe you actually want. You don't need a closet full of options. You just need pieces that work for you.
Right now, go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping and 365-day returns.
That's a full year to wear it and love it. And you will.
Quince is now available in Canada too. Don't keep settling for clothes that don't last.
Go to quince.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, for free shipping and 365-day returns.
Quince.com/booktalk. Sleep is important to everyone, but I am bipolar, and sleep is one of the most important things that I can do to protect not just my mental health, but my physical health. I always strive to get around 8 hours of sleep a night. Honestly, I have to shoot from 8 to 10 hours a night. And it is so important for me to know that everything in my body is helping me get that balanced sleep that I really need.
For me, the big shift was realizing that sleep isn't just about hours. It's the foundation for everything: performance, mood, focus, recovery, even how you age.
The part that surprised me is that you can't fully understand your sleep without looking at your lab tests. If your sleep is off, your results will likely show it with elevated inflammation and shifts in glucose and cholesterol. And when sleep improves, that's going to show too.
That's what I appreciate about Function. It gives you real data so you know what's happening inside your body. Sleep isn't just a habit, it's biology. And if you want to look deeper to see whether you're improving it or troubleshooting how to improve it, you have to measure it.
I have my first appointment with Function to get my blood drawn for next week. What I did appreciate about it, though, is that they are making sure that it's coordinated around my period. They weren't just like, come here, give us blood. It was like, hey, let's make sure you get the best results possible.
Be like Jack and own your health. Start by understanding what's happening beneath the surface.
Function gives you access to 160 plus lab tests each year, including advanced markers for heart health, inflammation, stress, hormones, toxins, and more for $365 a year.
Learn more and join Function using our link. Visit www.functionhealth.com/booktalk or use gift code BOOKTALK25, that's BOOKTALK 25, for a $25 credit toward your membership.
Well, one of the things that I thought was so refreshing about the ruins beneath us was the fact that we're dealing with elves and elvish lore, which, I think everyone's so accustomed to. Fae had and fairies had their moment, and it's nice to see someone take it in a different direction. What was it about elvish lore that drew you in and made you want to explore an elven character or an elven world?
I don't know if this is necessarily elf specific or if it's just culturally elf specific, but one thing that I did really love about developing Lyria's character is her connection to the land. Because her and her mom have grown up living in the forest. I don't go into too much detail about how they're getting food to survive and that kind of stuff, but we can sort of infer Lyria is an expert at living in these ironwood forests that she just loves. And I think that that connects to the much larger plot about the Heartlands, the land being taken and the, everyone, all that kind of stuff. I don't want to spoil anything for what's going down in book 2, but I did really enjoy that connection of if you were an immortal being, you would live absolutely in harmony with the land because you view it, as something there's no temporary, I'm only going to be here for, a few decades and call it a day. You view the land as something to be cared for. So I did really enjoy that part of Elvish lore. I also did a bit of diving into my ancestry is English, Scottish, and Irish. So those were the 3 cultures and histories that I would mine for little inspiration, little Easter eggs. And pretty much everything, every little detail in the book, there is some reason and meaning behind the detail of like every single little thing. Like, for example, she fights a monster very early on. The Morgorian, which is Morag, is a monster in Scotland, like a swamp monster, kind of like the Loch Ness monster, things like that. I did love getting into Scottish and Irish lore, but I don't know how much I dug into the traditions of elven fantasy. Because I think I don't know that I am the biggest expert on elven lore, but I did have a ton of fun with it.
I mean, my expertise begins and ends at Orlando Bloom and Lord of the Rings. Like that's my professional opinion on Elvish lore and culture. I'm a big fan. I like what you said though, where it makes sense that if you're living for hundreds of years, you don't get the luxury of, I can screw up this planet now and then the generations later can deal with it. It's like they're actually going to have to contend with their own consequences of their own actions.
Which I think is just a good message for humans in general, but makes sense for hypothetical immortal beings.
Okay, so going into the last question. As we said before, this is such a refreshing addition to the YA genre. Amy and I really grew up. I'm like, we're only a few years older. We're more than a few years older than you. But like, we really grew up in like the renaissance of YA. And I feel like YA is starting to make its comeback and is starting to be refreshing again. Because again, there's been some books that I love, and I do love this book, and I would recommend anyone reading this. But it feels an honest YA genre where this is for the audience. This is for the teenager. Anyone can read this, truly, but you wrote this for that audience and for the space. So what would you like to see more of in the future in the YA space? And how do you plan on bringing that into either book 2, into future books? But, like let's have Renaissance 2.0.
Ooh, I feel like my answer to this question might sound a little self-aggrandizing or like I'm patting myself on the back. So at the risk of saying that, I do think that the women in this story, I very intentionally tried to subvert a lot of people's expectations for the traditional role that they would fill. The best friend, that impact in the character, the rival, that character, the mother, I would say across the board, I tried to lean in and try to make the women a little surprising. And I do think that typically in the romantasy genre, I think there are some character archetypes that have, done well in mind. And I had a lot of fun with this book. I leaned straight into the cliche of whatever the character was, the naive 18-year-old that's an apothecary, leaned straight into it, but then tried to counter with some element that was surprising. So, like, for example, Lyria, to me, is a classic, sweet little Disney princess in the sense that she's making friends with cuddly animals and she's helping people and she's scrubbing floors and staying very positive despite being late. She fulfills all of these things almost to a cartoonish degree. But at the same time, she's got these elements. Like, one thing I love about Lyria is that she always wants the smoke. Like, she is ready to kill at the drop of a hat.
I was like, she smokes?
Yes, like she's ready to fight. Like, she's ready to square up.
Yeah.
Like, there's one scene, without spoilers, where she's confronted by someone and she makes the decision immediately, I'm going to have to kill this person.
Yeah.
Hesitation. And my editors, pushed back on that and they said, I don't think she would immediately go to that. And I said, oh no, she would. She absolutely would go to there. And I think that that's not something that you typically expect from, your Disney princess 18-year-old. And so I would say that I would love to see more in the romantasy genre of authors subverting, like another example I would point to is Aelin Galathynius in Throne of Glass. I think subverts the like, I'm so plain and ugly. I don't know why a boy would ever want to look at me. And Aelin is super confident about her looks. So I would love to see more authors doing that. Violet Sorrengal, another great example. Typically, it's like, how is this young woman so successful at fighting? How is she so physically powerful? And Violet's like, no, I'm not physically powerful. I'm not great in 1v1 combat. Anyway, all of that to say, I would love to see more subversion of tropes, more writing interesting women that surprise you and don't do what you expect them to do in their role.
Great answer. That was a fantastic answer. And I agree with you. That's such a good point. And women are so multifaceted. We are more than just tropes. But tropes are kind of like this universal experience that brings us all together. And we all have like tropes in our own reality, or I can't remember the phrase, but it's like the moment of like canon event. We all kind of have those canon events in our lives when it's like, oh, first heartbreak, eh? Right? Like you have that. And that's what brings us together. However, women, we are multifaceted. We handle them differently. We approach things differently. So I always love and appreciate an author like you who goes about this so intentionally, and it really shows. Like it really shows in this book, in your work, of how well thought out that you put into this, not just the plot, but into the characters.
Thank you so much. That's so kind of you to say. I really appreciate it.
You did it. You nailed it. So great debut. It's out now. Everyone absolutely needs to go and read this. Like, again, regardless of it being YA, I thoroughly enjoyed it. This was such a great read and such a great time to read at a conference and just like kind of go hide in your room to enjoy it. But yeah, it's available now. And is there anything like, where can people find you? Where can they go to follow you? I mean, you got all the socials.
Yeah, I'm on all the socials, same handle everywhere. Sasha E. Sloan, same as my author name, SashaESloan. And I post a lot and a lot of embarrassing stuff. So it's fun.
It is funny where I'm like, I have seen you over the years. So when I got it, I was like, oh, I know you. I'm like, that's always fun. Hey, how's it going? Yeah,
I feel like the internet has seen me go through a journey these last 5-6 years.
Yeah. It was one, I'm like, I haven't seen you on my feed in a while. I'm so happy this is where you are now. So yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sasha. You were fantastic. And I think so well spoken about your craft. We hear from author friends, they don't often get to talk about their craft. And I think because we have listeners who all want to write books as well, they're really going to appreciate how you talked about your world, your characters, and how you think about them, because it is refreshing to know that there's so much thought and effort put in behind the scenes, and you have a whole book from Cygnus's point of view. I love that. I want to read it. I think you're amazing, and we're so grateful to have had you on the podcast.
Yeah, and I hope to see you again. I'm excited for your future. Like, if this is debut, Sasha, you're going to kill it.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you for being so thoughtful and insightful. To your point, it's so satisfying to get to talk about the craft with people that also care so much about storytelling. So I do appreciate you letting me yap about these characters because, to your point, yes, everything has thought and intention and detail. I'm kind of the crazy person when it comes to Lyria, Cygnus, and Finn. So it's very happy for me that I can finally send them out into the world and you guys can meet them too and they can be yours as well.
Everyone, go meet them. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, and hopefully we'll see you again. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this special episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy.
If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps other readers find us. And of course, we'd love to hear what you thought of today's episode. Share your comments through our form at booktalkforbooktalk.com, and we might feature your feedback in a future mini episode or a Patreon exclusive episode.
For merch and more ways to support the show, head to booktalkforbooktalk.com. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk. Join us as we keep the analysis going by subscribing to our Substack to get more insights on the romantasy and romance world. Head to the subtextsocietyjournal.substack.com. Bye.
Bye.
I'm preparing to get married, which means I'm thinking a lot about what it means to merge finances. And I think I'm going with Chime.
Chime isn't just another banking app. They unlock smarter banking for everyday people with products like MyPay, giving you access to up to $500 of your paycheck anytime and getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit. Some of these old banks still don't do this.
We're at Romantasy BookCon, and I don't get paid for another 2 days. I could really use Chime right now.
I don't get paid for another 2 days too. I'm really sad it's not stopping me from buying everything, but it is also making me want to switch to Chime.
Because they don't have overdraft fees, minimum balance fees, or monthly fees.
You can also earn up to 3% APY on savings. That's 7 times higher than a traditional bank.
It's also rated 5 stars by USA Today for customer service because they have real humans 24/7.
And with the Chime card, it's the new way to build credit history with your own money and get rewarded every single day.
There's no annual fees, no interest, and no strings attached. Who can resist that?
Chime is not just smarter banking, it's the most rewarding way to bank. Join the millions who are already banking fee-free today.
It just takes a few minutes to sign up. Head to chime.com/booktalk. That's chime.com/booktalk. BOOKTALK.
Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services, a secured Chime Visa credit card, and MyPay line of credit provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. MyPay eligibility requirements apply, and credit limit ranges $20 to $500. Optional services and products may have fees or charges. See chime.com/fees info. Advertised annual percentage yield with Chime Plus status only. Otherwise, 1.00% APY applies. No min balance required. Chime card on-time payment history may have a positive impact on your credit score. Results may vary. See chime.com for details and applicable terms.
I decided to start taking a GLP-1 because it was the final missing piece to my comprehensive wellness journey. Last year, my health was going to be my main priority. And for me, my wellness goals include energy, consistency, and long-term health. And Brello was able to bring a provider guidance that has made this process feel very supportive and legit.
What's so great about Brello is the focus is your long-term health. Your provider is committed to a sustainable approach to your wellness. Brello focuses on habits, education, and provides that structure for you to ensure that longevity along with provider oversight.
I've used other services before, and Brello is the only one that has their provider call me and actually talk to a real human being who is able to answer my questions. But beyond that, you also get access to an amazing private online community for support and accountability. Brello also has an easy-to-use app to track progress. It manages reminders and stays on top of renewals. Everything's managed online, making it easier to stay consistent over time, and the medications are delivered to your door.
Brello has clear upfront pricing with one flat monthly cost. If you're approved for a GLP-1 plan, they start as low as $133 per month with a 3-month commitment.
Go to BrelloHealth.com to see if you qualify and explore their GLP-1 plans, starting at $133 per month for your first 3 months, plus access to their app, community, and wellness classes. That's BRELLO health.com.
All patients must meet with a healthcare provider prior to any medication being prescribed or dispensed. Any medications ultimately dispensed to a patient will be done pursuant to a valid prescription from a healthcare provider. Compounded drug products are not FDA approved. FDA does not evaluate compounded products for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Compounded medications are not reviewed or verified by the FDA for safety, effectiveness, or quality and are not FDA approved. Not available in all 50 states.
We are going to so many book conventions the next couple months, and do I need a whole new wardrobe?
I think so, because I'm not prepared for weather in New York.
Honestly, I am not about the fast fashion. I am all about Quince and how they prefer quality over quantity.
Quince makes high-quality wardrobe staples using premium fabrics, like 100% silk and organic cotton.
They even have a lightweight cotton cashmere sweater that's perfect for the changing seasons, especially in New York. And they have amazing spring colors, so I'll be able to be very versatile with all of the cute sweaters they have.
Quince clothing is consistently rated 4.5 to 5 stars by thousands of customers. Real people wearing these pieces every day actually love them. And honestly, they're better than some of my favorite expensive brands.
I personally love my boyfriend sweater that I got last year, and I still wear it all the time. And I'm sad that it's going to be warm, so I guess I'm going to have to find another sweater.
Stop waiting to build the wardrobe you actually want. You don't need a closet full of options. You just need pieces that work for you.
Right now, go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping and 365-day returns.
That's a full year to wear it and love it. And you will.
Quince is now available in Canada too. Don't keep settling for clothes that don't last.
Go to quince.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, for free shipping and 365-day returns.
Quince.com/booktalk.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return,
But I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.